So I've just made a simple 5x7 card base here, and I have got this beautiful monochrome rose paper, and I'm going to make the card topper out of this. The card spec that was commissioned was for an ombre style, so I was looking through my papers and I thought I could try and make an ombre, but it might look a bit strange, but this kind of works in that sense, so I'm going to see what it looks like first. So I've now cut a piece of my favourite holographic card to the exact size of the card, so 5x7, and then I've made my rose topper with just the slightest glimpse, because I think that really makes a card pop when it's just a little edge around, so it'll just glisten when the card is moved. So then we're making a shaker card. So with the umbrella shaker card, I made this one, so I designed it on Cricut Design Space. I'd made it so that the Cricut would cut my cardstock to the size I wanted, and then the panels and the raindrops and the umbrella, etc. Everything was done on the Cricut. The Cricut wrote the sentiment as well. There is beauty in every drop of rain. I designed how that would look as well. But you don't need a Cricut machine. So for this one, I'm going to show you it. I'm going to use die cuts to make, and I've decided to go for a nice heart shape. I'm just going to have to work out where the best place to put these are, so that it doesn't take away from the rose. So because it's going to be a huge hole in there, so I'm just going to have a think for a minute. But I'm going to frame it with a heart. I'm going to cut some more layers of card so that it becomes thick enough to be a shaker card. Now I am debating whether I want to change the colour of the base of the card to black. So again, I'm going to have a think. I've got this gorgeous textured thick card, and I'm going to make that into the base of the card. So I'm just going to do a standard 5x7 card. So I'm going to cut the A4 sheet to 10. By 7. And I am going to score at 5. So then I'm just going to give it a good burnish down, and we've got a lovely crease for our card. Okay, so I decided these two were too big, so I'm going to go for the next size down, and I'm going to cut this part here so that it doesn't take too much away from the rose. There's still a bit of the other rose showing, but it's just taking away this whole blank section other than that one petal right there. So that's what I'm going for. And then once I have placed it where I want it, I'm going to cut the frame out. So again, just wanting to make sure that it will fit nicely on the card. So there. So I've got my low tack tape here with frog tape. And I'm just going to stick this down, and I have more cards, so if this goes wrong I can start all over again. It is fine. So here it is. I love this low tack tape. It is brilliant for card craft. So there we have our first cut piece. Now I again decided I wanted a bit more of a border, so I trimmed this down just slightly a bit more. So what I want to do now is line this up. Just keep this in place for a minute. And oops, it was this one. And secure that down. Just so. Pop that through the die cut machine. So I was rummaging through my stash again, and this is my die cut book, and here are some pretty awesome dies from Crafter's Companion, and this was part of my stash, or my haul, that I bought when they were doing the 10 dies for £10. And these are just going to add some extra gorgeousness behind this. So I'm thinking, because these will only cut out the small hearts and the dots, so it would just shine through some lovely mirror card then. Just, I think like that. And it will just add a little something. In fact, because the heart's that way, I feel like if I did it this, that gives it a bit more satin. Okay, I'm going to run that through. I just sound like Holly Willoughby. I'm just going to pop that down. I don't know why I've still got the black piece underneath that. I don't need that. So, and if I don't just go for it, I won't do it. So I'm going to just go for it. And like I said, I've got more spare cards, so it's, if this does go wrong, this won't make it into the video anyway. So last bit, just taping that down into place, and I'll run that through. And so it hasn't taken too much off the rose element. Like all these tiny little hearts. Oh, maybe I can add them into the shaker. Maybe that would work. Okay, I'm just going to keep these little hearts to one side because they may well have a little place in the shaker card itself. See, reuse everything. That's not to say I will, but I mean the idea is there. Okay, so if I show you now, when I put the silver card behind, the mirror card behind, it's just going to pop all that colour. And give it just that little bit of extra beauty. Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, perfect. And so here I've cut out 3 lots of black thank yous because I want to make that quite a 3D look, and I'm going to offset it slightly with the mirror card, with the holographic card, just on the front of the card, so it would just pop out. Just like that. So I made the topper again because this one just seemed to have a lot more interest to it being at the top. I don't know if that feels the same for anybody else, but I also had managed to score a mark into that paper, so I'm going to use that in another project another time. But so now I've remade the topper. Then I cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of card, and we're going to stick those together. That's then going to stick on the top of there. And so here I have my acetate, and I'm going to trim it down. I am actually going to stick it on the bottom of that card. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to stick that down. Plain and simple. Stick that down. It looks like a piece of art in itself, doesn't it? And then lining that up with the cutout part. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to one side to dry, and then I'll stick the acetate on the back of that later. And in the meantime, I am just going to painstakingly glue all of these together. And so that is all of them together. Now, because this is going to be the shaker part, I want to make sure that these are not going to come apart. So I'm just going to clip the heart down together and move it around a little bit at a time just while it's drying, and make sure it's all just perfectly solidly together. And so that's all nicely glued down, nice and sturdy, and we are ready to make the rest of it. I'm going to bring in the top, and I am going to tape this down with double-sided tape and keep the window clear. And I'm going to tape onto the back of the card that was stuck together. I'm going to line that up with the card base, and we're nearly good to go. Now I've got some sparkly heart gems here. I've got some silver, beads and gold beads. I've got some silver sequins here, and I think I want to add a little bit of colour, so I'm bringing in some red, and I've just mixed them all up in my hands here like so, and I'm going to add them in here like so. So it's got a real nice pop of colour in there. I've put those little heart dies in there as well, the ones that were cut out from this part of the card. It just adds a little something else. Oops. And I'm just going to check. And now for decorating, I'm going to bring in those thank yous that I built up earlier, and I've stuck them onto the low tack tape. And this is my trick. So if you've got little pieces of dies that need to kind of stay in line or be put together in a certain way, you can make it on this low tack tape, glue it on the back, bring it over to the card and place it where you want it. And when it's dry, peel it off. So that's there for now. And then I cut that silver heart, but I think it's too silver. So I cut a red heart to kind of coordinate, and I'm just going to stick those together, offset, and then stick that on as a frame, because I think silver and black are very cute together, but just a little extra coordinating colour just adds that extra little something, doesn't it? So I'm just going to stick that down at a slight offset, just so that the silver kind of pops through without being too silver, if that makes any sense to anyone. And I don't know, would you do the same? Would you have just done the silver? I think it was just too silver. It needed something. And just lining that up over there, over the cut. And I'm just going to leave that to dry for a minute and finish off later. Okay, and then we are just going to peel this back. Because it's low tack, it doesn't cause any damage. Everything is right where I placed it. And then, because it would have stopped the glue from actually drying, I'm going to leave it again just to set. And then I've just had a little play around with some gems and another little red heart that I cut out, and I'm going to place these down with some glue. Okay, and now I have cut another couple of hearts. That's not going on the front, don't worry. It's going to go on the inside for the message. I think I want it like... no, just those. Lovely, so I'm going to glue those in. And I'll leave that to dry. And so here we have the finished card. What do you think? I love shaker cards. Shaker cards are my absolute favourite thing to make.